What up, y'all? Appreciate you showing up, hanging out, listening to my dumb ass. Like and subscribe. So, another day, another blah, blah, blah. Narrative up in the air. All that good stuff. So, now, this new thing has come up. It's not a new thing. It's just I guess a how do you say, a support to the narrative that's been kind of going around by the Ponies and Donkey Unicorns. This person, this ex-employee of Microsoft from back in the day, OG Xbox, Lara Frier, I believe her name is. And first I want to say, shout out to her for being part of the team that created the Xbox, because without the Xbox, I probably wouldn't be into video games right now. I'd probably be like more of an arcade, old school, you know, get all the arcade games that I liked when I was a kid and stuff. And maybe a couple, probably more PC, but you know. And so she did a 12 or so minute video. She did a couple videos, but the one I want to talk about was the one that she was talking about. Well, she said Xbox is dead as a hardware console. So, paraphrasing, of course. She said that in one, like towards the end of her video. But one thing that people aren't really focusing or mentioning at all, and that I noticed, like the first couple of minutes where she talked about it, was she hates Windows. That statement, her feeling about Windows, is motivation as to why she would do a video like this. Because what Xbox is doing is incorporating Windows into what she built. And I feel she has a certain, she has a certain way, she's feeling a certain way about Windows. She hates Windows. That's what she said, right? She has Linux on all her computers, but she admitted that she can't play all her games through Linux, so she has dual boot. I dual boot Windows because I can't play everything, blah, 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 right? So even she, who hates Windows, admits that it is necessary in some instances. Now, the reason why she hates Windows is this. And I'm going to say this is what I believe. And what I'm about to say is the truth. Back in the day, the OG Xbox day, when the Xbox was about to, was being worked on, they trying to figure out how to make it, blah, blah, blah. The dudes, Robbie Bach and Shane Blackley and all the OG dudes that were making the Xbox told what's his face, Bill. But why am I forgetting his name? The Xbox dude. I mean the Windows dude. It's like Bill Nye, the science guys in my brain. Anyway, they told him that they couldn't do the full Windows. They needed to have a cut down version of Windows. And Bill, wow, I'm totally blanking on his name. That's bad. That's a bad sign. I think I need to eat more healthier. Anyway, they told Bill Gates that they can't do it. And he was mad. They did it anyway. They're like, nah, cut it down. Screw Billy. Screw him in his face, in his glasses, and his crazy haircut. Screw him. He's just a nerd anyway. He don't know what's cool. We cool. They nerds. Anyway, the point is, Windows was huge. Xbox was nobody. Windows treated Xbox so poorly that everyone at Xbox was just like, because everyone at Windows hated the Xbox division. And so, I mean, if you hate me, I'm going to hate you back. I'm not going to be like nice and stuff. And you can imagine a little team like Xbox, all scrappy, trying to get something together under the same corporation. But they got their team members, quote unquote, not really, over here talking shite and treating them like crap. And I'm like, oh, that's why she hates Windows, because they treated her and her team like trash. It's well documented, okay? I believe it's in the documentary that about Power Up or whatever it's called, the Xbox documentary. Anyway, so she hates Windows because of that, and now she's bringing her hatred from back in the day forward to what she's saying now, not realizing, or maybe realizing, but just ignoring the fact that the market is different. Back when the OG Xbox came out, There was no Netflix. It was Blockbuster Video. That was the not the metric, but that was the model. That was the business model. You know, you go into a store, you rent the movie, you go get you bring it back, and you pay a little fee, blah blah blah, right? Back then, you buy a console, you play the game, or you rent the game from Blockbuster. Hello, blah blah blah, bring it back. Or you have the game, you trade the game in, get another game, blah blah blah. That's not how it is anymore. And the fact that she's talking all these things, and yes, she gets props for starting the thing, but you have to take into consideration the changes in the industry, the changes in the market. And she didn't put that into her presentation. She negated all of that. And so when she's saying, I don't like what they're doing, all the things that she was saying wasn't fact. It was her opinion based off of how she felt about Windows. And so when someone's speaking, I think, one thing I do, I think about their motivation. Okay, that's very important. And her motivation is, I hate Windows. I don't hate Xbox. I just hate Windows because they treat us like crap. And so blah, 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 and everything else falls in line, right? You look at Porter Rock, you look at all these other dudes, these Ponies and Donkey Unicorns, they just hate Xbox. They don't want Xbox to win over PlayStation. They want PlayStation to always win, so they'll say anything and everything for that to happen. PlayStation has to win, Xbox, whatever. That's what it is. So the motivation is for Xbox to lose and PlayStation to win. So you see Laura's motivation. She hates Windows, brought it to the forefront. You see all these Ponies and Donkey Unicorns motivations. They just hate Xbox. They want PlayStation to win. They want to be part of the winning team. They want to justify their $700, $850 purchase of the Pixeltech 5 Pro. That's what they want. And so I watched the video and I was like, I mean, everything she was saying was almost like a pony wrote it for her, even though I know it wasn't. But it's like the same talking points. Once again, ignoring the changes in the industry and negating that the Microsoft, the Xbox strategy is actually the smarter strategy, because you are not putting all your eggs into one basket, is exactly what PlayStation and Nintendo are doing. And these Ponies and Donkey Unicorns and drones, Nintendo drones, they are obfuscating and they're changing the narrative to make it look like Microsoft doesn't know what they're doing. They don't know. They don't have an identity. They don't know what direction to go in. Even Mike Ybarra said that. And I'm like, y'all are, I mean, I understand the console war is lucrative, and I understand when you put out tweets like that, people is going to retweet you, and so maybe you just want to have that that engagement clicks, right? But what Microsoft is doing is smarter than Nintendo and Sony, because they have more tendrils, if you will. They have more heads in the game. And so if one of them underperforms and the other ones don't, overall their business is still healthy. They can keep it moving, and they can say, okay, well, we need to adjust this one that's not performing as well and get it up to where we want it to be. Not so much where they need it to be, but where they want it to be. They have expectations of these businesses based off of whatever they decide to base it off of. And so I keep looking at it, and I'm looking at Microsoft. And now I just said before, we have to look at people's motivation. Now we have to look at the company's motivations, right? Nintendo, they just want to make that money. They've always had, since I believe the first Wii, they've always charged their consoles in such a way that they do not take a loss on their consoles, right? So that's been their plan for years, and they're sticking to that. That's it, and that's all. That's cool. They can make money on the consoles. They can make money on the games. Boom. Right? And now they're trying to do a little bit more. They're trying to do a little online, a little chat and all that stuff. People are like, I don't know. And they're trying to do these game cards that ain't got no game on it. I don't know. You know, they're trying some stuff. Is it going to work? Who knows? But they're still pretty much staying in their lane. Sony is trying to evolve without giving up their golden goose. They're trying to maintain the same mode of operation that they have in the past, even though the market is changing, even though the market has changed. So it's like, oh yeah, consoles are still the number one. We're going to sell consoles to sell games. And I'm like, that's not how it is anymore. So I'm not sure how that's going to work, especially if they're pricing their consoles in a way that Nintendo does or Apple. I know I've seen a lot of people say that Sony is trying to be like Apple. And in some respects they are. Well, in one respect they are, and that's the mind share, but it's not the same because Apple has a way of being in everybody's mind and in everybody's pocket, and that's their phone, okay? Sony doesn't have a phone anymore. They gave up on the phones. Well, you know what? I take that back. I think they still are doing phones, but nobody buys Sony Ericsson phone. I don't think they're doing that anymore. I mean, just like Microsoft gave up on the phones, Windows phones, which was a mistake, but they did it. And so they don't have the same mind share that Apple does. They're trying to be that, but it's not the same because the ease of having a Sony device in your pocket went away when the Walkman and the CD man, Discman went away. You know, and when Apple took over for MP3 players with iPod and then with the iPhone. And so the phone and the MP3 player became one thing, making Sony's place in that particular market irrelevant. So if you want to actually use Apple as an example as to how Sony can be dethroned and totally wiped out of the market, let's just use that as an example. And now we replace Apple with Xbox and say, well, Xbox, as far as console ecosystems, what they're doing is making the fact that you have to own a specific box irrelevant. You don't need to own a PlayStation 6, let's just say, because you could play it on the Xbox, you could play it on the PC, you could play it on your TV, you could play it on your phone. Why do you need a PlayStation 6? And that's the thing that Phil said. Phil was like, yo, we want people to buy our hardware because of the hardware itself, not because we're making these games only exclusive on these hardware. And that's a problem that a lot of these Ponies and Donkey Unicorns are clinging to. It's not a problem, but it's the fact that they're clinging to it because that's the only thing that keeps PlayStation relevant, is their exclusive, gets, if you will. They're money hatting. It's like, oh, I can't play that anywhere else. It's like, well, sure, but what the company is doing to make that happen is not consumer friendly. So do you want your company to win, or do you want to be treated fairly as a consumer? And it seems like you're okay with bending over and taking it without the Vaseline. Sorry, Dirt. As much as you offer it to these fools, they're not going to take it. They like it dry and rough. Pause. So, what Lara said, what Miss Frier said, that's her opinion. I respect it. I'm not going to say, oh, she's a dummy face. She don't know what she's talking about. Blah, blah. No. I mean, she obviously knows what she's talking about because she's super smart. But what she's talking about is also tainted by her experience with Windows and how they treated her team back in the day. And that is very important. Like I said, motivation. What are these people, why are they doing what they're doing? Why are they hating on Xbox so much? Why? And I've already explained the PlayStation, the Donkey Unicorn and Pony motivation, and Miss Lara Frier's motivations. And you can take anyone on Twitter or wherever, and you can apply the same kind of formula. Say, okay, what are your motivations? Why are you saying the things you're saying? Blah, blah, blah. You take Crap Gamer, for instance. What is his motivation for hating Xbox? Well, Phil slapped him up and down the internet back in the day by one simple tweet, and that broke his booty hole, that broke his heart. Him and Tim Dog are part of the Xbox Jilted Lovers Club. I don't know. What was that? The JLA? That's not the Justice League. That's the Jilted Lovers Anonymous. That's what that is. But they're not anonymous because everybody knows, because they've been spreading their tears across Twitter for years. And they continue to do so. So, I mean, some people on Twitter, they're just trolls. That's fine. They can do that. If that's what they do, that's what they do. They're not actually hating Xbox because they have Game Pass. They play on Xbox, all these things. But, I mean, Crap does. He has an Xbox. But that's before he flipped, of course. So he's not going to trade that in, right? But, I'm looking at all these things. And when Miss Lara Frier put out her posts, her videos, all these Donkey Unicorns, of course, they're going to parrot it and say, see, this is what I've been talking about all the time. But it's like, but you don't have the same motivations that Lara does, because Laura's been through it. Laura's been through a lot more than you. You didn't work at Xbox. You didn't have to deal with the Windows team. You didn't have to do any of that stuff. That's why she is that way. Now, Mike Ybarra is a whole other thing. I think he may have, I should say Tourette's. He may have, it's not that. He may have, multiple personality disorder, whatever you want to call it. Because one day he's like, oh man, Xbox don't know what to do it. The next day he's like, I'm an Xbox is always bleed green forever. And I'm like, what? Okay, whatever. Nobody's listening to you anymore. You could try to play nice, but you made your bed, and yeah, nobody cares anymore. The one other thing I wanted to bring up, mention, and talk about, even though I did glance on it a little bit ago, was the Mike Ybarra brought it up. He said that Microsoft doesn't have an identity, or they don't know what their identity is, or something along those lines. I think Laura mentioned that as well, but I know Mike Ybarra did it, and other people are saying that too. They're parroting this notion that Microsoft doesn't have an identity, and they come to this conclusion because they feel that they don't have an identity because of the fact that they're not doing what PlayStation's doing or Nintendo's doing. Like, they don't have a, like, I don't, they're doing something extra, basically, because they're still making a console. They're still making a console made by them, right? So when they see the partnership between Asus and them, right? Asus and Xbox, and when they see the partnership between Meta and Xbox, they're like, oh, this is how it's going to be forever and ever. And it's like, this is how part of the business will be, doing deals with third parties to make the name Xbox more ubiquitous. That's the whole point. When you are everywhere and you cannot escape the Xbox name, then everybody will know what Xbox is. Xbox is Game Pass, Game Pass is games. Or Xbox is games, or Game Pass is games. It's all going to be like Xbox is games. Oh, Xbox Game Pass games. That's what's going to happen. And their move to do this is to get like all the people who like VR, who wanted to buy a Quest 3, a Meta Quest 3 or something. Even though the $100 is technically, it's worth it. I think you're getting a deal actually with the Meta Quest bucks, or whatever they call their service, and the Game Pass months, free months, plus the actual hardware. It's definitely worth more than what they're charging for. It's $100 more than the basic S3, right? So I'm like, okay, that's cool. I mean, I would, if I really wanted one, I'd probably get the Xbox version, because get a little bit of flavor on that. But I don't think I want that, not yet, because it's still niche. It's still like a toy, if you will. It's not even like, it's cool, but it's like, is it necessary? Absolutely not. I'm not gonna be doing any content with it. It's just for shites and googles. And so I'm like, all right, that's cool. But getting the Xbox name everywhere is part of the plan. It's all part of the plan. And so in VR, they say, oh, what's this Xbox? What's this Xbox headset? I don't know. Let's get it. Boom, right? Still cheaper than PlayStations. Then you say, okay, that's cool. Oh, what's this handheld? Oh, it's an Xbox handheld? Still cheaper than PlayStation Pro Tato. I don't even know how much it's gonna cost. So we'll see about that. That's a whole other thing. But the whole notion that Xbox doesn't have an identity, or they don't know their identity, or they've lost their identity is a fallacy, because they still have their identity. They're just expanding their reach. They're growing bigger because they are a bigger corporation. They're a bigger company than Sony. They're the biggest publisher. So being the biggest publisher, you need to put your games everywhere. Like, if you look at these giant publishers who don't have a console, what is it? What is the bottom line? The bottom line is the bottom line, but what do? Their game is everywhere. Period. It's not just exclusive. And if it is exclusive, it's dumb. Every time a giant publisher that doesn't have a console hardware went exclusive, it failed. Look at Fortnite. Fortnite was exclusive on PlayStation when it first came out. Failed. They changed the game, made it Battle Royale, Was it free or was it like $40 or something? I think it might have been $40 or something. But the point is, they changed the game of what it was, and they put it out on everything, and it's a success. It's one of the biggest games out there. Minecraft has always been multi-platform. They didn't take it away from PlayStation. One of the biggest games, always on the charts on PlayStation. You know what I'm saying? Or on every chart, basically. Call of Duty, not exclusive. Never been exclusive, although Sony did do some stuff to have exclusive content, and that's what helped them grow their base in the PlayStation 4 era. That's no longer the case, so they can't rely on Call of Duty's exclusive skins and such to help them grow their base, because Xbox, they cut that off. They're like, yeah, you're not getting exclusive nothing. I don't care what you pay us. That's not how it works. You can't pay the richer company any type of money because they got more money than you. So you can't bribe them out. You can bribe all these other poor-ass companies. There's little devs over here and there. But you can't bribe the big boy. You can't bribe the bank. Bank got all the money. So Sony can't do nothing. So PlayStation can't do anything as far as Call of Duty. So they're going to lose a percentage of players based off of that, because they're no longer having to go on PlayStation to get the latest and greatest stuff. It's all equal on all platforms, so they can play whatever they want. They probably go to PC, if not back to Xbox, because has a superior controller for that. And so the identity is not in question. Like, people who say that don't take into account the change of the market, and they're just, once again, still in that old school mind state of sell a console, sell games. That's not how it is anymore. And so the companies that are adapting to the current situation are going to be successful. The company that is diversifying their portfolio, if you will be more successful than those who put all their eggs in one basket, and then the wolf come and eat and steal the whole basket, and you ain't got no more eggs. Just saying. Plus, PlayStation ain't got no games. They got no games. And Xbox has the games. They have so many games, they put it on PlayStation. And once again, Ponies and Donkey Unicorns that are using that, they're like, oh, that's a W for PlayStation. It's like, no, it's not. Because if you support Xbox games, you're only supporting Xbox. When you support the enemy, when you support Xbox, you're hurting PlayStation in a way. Because PlayStation doesn't want Xbox to exist. But by supporting Xbox, you're keeping Xbox relevant, keeping them alive, you're keeping them profitable, and you're creating a profitable business situation for them, a profitable business environment for them. And so the business model of selling Xbox games to ponies at full price, that's why you raise the price, because they're like, Xbox games are savvy, so they're going to go get Game Pass because they have Xbox. But PlayStation, they didn't allow Game Pass on PlayStation, so you gotta buy the whole game. We tried. We tried to give y'all the discount, but somebody doesn't want to give you the discount, so there you go. Full price, baby. Oh, by the way, it's $10 more. See you later. And that's what happens. That is what's happening. That is what has happened. And it's ridiculous. But once again, I appreciate you. I can subscribe. Hit me in the comments below. Let me know what you think about Lara Frier's video, her comments. Like I said, I respect her for doing what she did back in the day, but times have changed. Things have changed. If you don't adapt, you're going to get left behind. You're going to go extinct. And she seems like she's part of the old guard. All these talking heads that are saying the same thing had that same attitude. And so does PlayStation, unfortunately. And so they'll stick around for a little bit, but they're going to slowly start to shrink. You're going to see it. And that's what's up. Look, when I haven't had a handheld console. I did buy a 3DS, but that was later, a 3DS XL. That was later just to have it. Last actual handheld console that I had was Game Gear, Sega Game Gear. That's how much of a Sega head I was. And the Game Gear was trash. It was a less than Sega Master System. Well, it's hard to say that, but it kind of was. But the Game Gear only games were a little bit different. They made them a little bit different to accommodate the small screen. Anyway, appreciate you. And I'll talk to you on the next one, too.